Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you found your way here, trust there's something in this message for you. Understand this space is about growth, truth, and transformation. We don't bypass here. We don't sugarcoat. And not every message will feel comfortable, but it will be honest. I speak in flow, and that sometimes includes cussing. It's just part of how the messages come through. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own discernment above all else. Take a deep breath, and let's begin. If you're new here, please know at this time I post weekly content in 3 parts. Part 1 decides what the topic is and focuses on what needs to be revealed. Part 2 focuses on what needs to be understood. It tends to be a deep dive on what was covered in Part 1. And Part 3 focuses on what needs to be done, essentially what action needs to be taken to take all that learning and that understanding and embody it. Based on when you find this video, you will either find all the links to the content below in the description box, or you will see a scheduled posting date for when it will be available. Please know I'm pretty diligent about updating all the links and all the description boxes for the series as new content becomes available. So if you don't see it yet, stay tuned. It's coming. All right, so this message is part 2, and I am calling it, Why Does Scarcity and Lack Keep Repeating in Your Experience? What needs to be understood? What part 1 described is not just a pattern. It's a system with its own logic. Part 2 is the full picture of that system, and there's one truth that everything rests on. You are not fully inside this pattern anymore, but you're also not fully outside of it. You're in the phase where it is loosening. That creates a very specific experience. You can clearly see what's happening, but you still react to it automatically. That is not failure. I heard say it again. That's not failure. That's exactly what it looks like when a system is starting to break. I'm hearing you're on the right path. The deeper architecture behind scarcity. At the center of everything is a loop. Something happens or begins to happen. You interpret it. You respond to that interpretation. And that response changes the outcome. Scarcity is not just something you feel. It's something your system creates through interpretation, timing, and small reactions in real time. And now it operates in a way that is subtle, precise, and easy to miss. Scarcity is not emotional, it's interpretive. This is one of the most important truths. Scarcity doesn't mainly come from fear or anxiety. It comes from what your mind says about what's happening. For example, something neutral becomes, this won't last. Something good becomes, what's the catch? And a pause becomes something is wrong. So what's really happening is you're reacting to meaning, not reality. And that meaning is assigned instantly. The system runs on anticipation, not reality. Most of the tension you feel doesn't come from things going wrong. It comes from expecting loss, preparing for something to break, and tightening before anything happens. So scarcity is created before anything actually goes wrong. The pattern is weakening, but still alive. Right now, you can see the pattern clearly, and the emotional intensity is lower, but the behavior still runs. So it feels like I understand this, but I still do it. That's because your awareness has changed faster than your habits. You are in the transition, not stuck. Say it again. You are in the transition. You are not stuck. The pattern now operates quietly. This is no longer obvious self-sabotage. It looks like small delays, slight hesitation, minor overthinking, and tiny adjustments. Nothing feels like a big mistake, but small adjustments repeated over time prevent stability. Disruption feels logical. Your reactions feel reasonable. I'm just being careful. I'm improving this. I'm thinking it through. So the pattern hides inside logic, which means you're not resisting. You're making decisions that feel right, but create instability. Disruption is precise and timed. This pattern activates at very specific moments. Right before something stabilizes, right when something starts working, and right when something could count as real. At those moments, doubt appears. You reevaluate and you adjust or pull back. So you're not interrupting randomly, you are interrupting permanence. The system stops at almost. Things don't fail. They reach almost done, almost consistent, and almost secure. Then something shifts. So instead of failure, you experience near success without stability. You reevaluate at the wrong time. Reflection isn't the problem. Timing is. You tend to analyze right after progress, right when something works, and right before something locks in. So instead of letting things settle, you destabilize them. Small doubt has a big impact. Doubt doesn't have to be strong. Even a small thought like, is this right, can lead to hesitation, slight changes, and reduced follow-through. So small doubt leads to immediate action, which leads to interruption. You trust movement more than stillness. Doing something feels safer than maintaining, holding, and leaving things alone. So when something works, you tweak it, improve it, and adjust it. This creates motion, but motion replaces stability. You are calibrated to intensity. Your system is used to urgency, pressure, and emotional highs and lows. When things become calm and steady, it feels like nothing is happening. So you create stimulation again because intensity has been learned as this matters. Ease is mistrusted. There's an internal belief that effort equals real, struggle equals valid, and ease equals suspicious. So when something works easily, you interfere with it. Good experiences don't fully land. You experience progress, satisfaction, and things working, but immediately after think, this won't last, or this isn't enough. So nothing becomes stable in your environment and in your system. Desire is treated like a risk. You know what you want, but when it starts becoming real, you hesitate, you question it, and you try to control it, even though desire is what naturally moves things forward. Control is being used in the wrong place. Control helped you before. Now it's interfering with what is already working. The real issue is tolerance for stability. You can create stability, but when it appears, it feels unfamiliar. You don't trust it, and you adjust it, so you don't allow stability to exist. Stability feels like stagnation. When things become consistent and predictable, it can feel like nothing is happening. So you change things even when they're working. There is resistance to being defined. Stability means this is real and this is my life. That can feel limiting because there's less flexibility and more expectation. So you avoid being fully defined. Giving feels safe. Receiving does not. Giving creates control and reinforces identity. Receiving requires trust and feels vulnerable. So value doesn't fully land. Some collapse is actually fatigue. Not everything is mental. Some of it is exhaustion and overload. So you hit capacity, not just resistance. Remember, babies, bodies and nervous systems need rest too. There is a gap between insight and action. You understand deeply, but action becomes overthought and delayed. So clarity doesn't turn into stability. The system prefers potential over reality. Potential is flexible and open. Reality is stable and fixed. So you stay in refining and adjusting instead of letting things be real. The pattern protects a familiar identity. It maintains a version of you that is in control and always managing. So it keeps creating movement and problems because your identity is tied to managing, not having. Enough isn't recognized. There's no strong internal sense of what enough feels like. So when it appears, you question it, you change it, and you break it. You don't fully claim what's yours. Even when something works, you think, this is good, but so you don't fully own it. Fixing replaces having. Improving feels productive, but here it often means not accepting what already exists. Completion feels uncomfortable. Unfinished means active, and finished means still. So you stay in process instead of completion. You prefer starting over maintaining. Starting feels exciting and maintaining feels repetitive, so you initiate more than you sustain. Simplicity feels wrong. When things become simple, it feels incomplete, so you add complexity again. You are already doing enough, but not counting it. You are creating results, but because they don't stabilize, it feels like not enough, so effort continues. Progress is being reset. Because nothing locks in, it feels like starting over. But actually, progress is being interrupted before it accumulates. The illusion, something is missing. It feels like something isn't complete, but that feeling comes from interruption, not lack. The system avoids irreversibility. Stability feels final and fixed, so the system keeps things adjustable and open. There is preference for openness over permanence. Open is associated with freedom, and stable is associated with defined. So you keep things open instead of letting them settle. The pattern continues because it feels useful. It helps you avoid pressure and stay flexible, so it feels reasonable. You only interrupt what could last. You don't disrupt everything. You disrupt what could become permanent. Possibility feels like pressure. When something could really work, it creates responsibility. So you pull back at possibility. The key moment, doubt equals stability. The moment that feels like hesitation or uncertainty is often the moment something is about to stabilize. The final threshold, non-interference. Up to now, your role has been managing, adjusting, and controlling. But stability requires doing nothing. And I'm hearing you heard that right. They're telling me to say it again. Up to now, your role has been managing, adjusting, and controlling. But stability requires doing nothing. No fixing, no improving, no analyzing, just letting it be. The final synthesis. You are not someone who lacks ability or lacks opportunity. You are someone who makes small, reasonable adjustments at the exact moment things are starting to work. And those small adjustments prevent stability and create scarcity. Nothing is wrong. Your system is still reacting to stability as if it's unsafe, unfamiliar, or incomplete, even when it's already working. I heard say it again. Your system is still reacting to stability as if it's unsafe, unfamiliar, or incomplete, even when it's already working. Scarcity doesn't come from not having enough. It comes from the moment when something is already enough and you change it. The final message: there is nothing missing, nothing more to figure out, nothing more to fix. The pattern ends in a very quiet place. Something works. Nothing is wrong. You do nothing and let it stay. That's where everything changes. All right, that message feels complete and I'm not getting anything more. So I'm going to leave it there. I will be back later this week with part 3, which will focus on what needs to be done. And yeah, I will update the links in the description box below when the series is complete. So take care of yourselves, beautiful beings. Until next time, bye.